Chairman, this is the entire leadership of Kenya Industrial Estates, all assembled under one roof. We are a big organization, we are about 50 plus. And the chair will gather for the next 2 days to take stock of what we've been able to do as an organization for the last few months, to review our performance and moving forward, how would we continue with our growth while maintaining quality loans. In other words, what do we need to do differently as we plan to scale up. And Chair will also use the opportunity for the next few days to bond and to meet and to just promote that teamwork. So Chair, that's what this team is here to do for the next few days. And, just to workshop around our common issues, so that by the time we leave here, we have one accord in the direction we want to go to achieve as a team.
For Karina, only in live, so I've seen you there before, but we haven't met formally. So good to meet you.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I notice, first, good morning.
Good morning.
I notice that the whole of KI is here. So as I was seated here, I can hear there is the branch managers, the assistants, the head office is here. So I was wondering to myself, who is actually running the organization? And when we went to the field, we saw some of the branches have 3 officers. And one of the officers might be a driver or a messenger. So I hope you've left enough instructions to the people behind. So I'm happy to be here with you this morning as you start this workshop. And I'm told the whole idea is to look at your performance, review your performance and strategy. The whole purpose also is to scale up the KIA operations so that we can move a little higher. And I want to take this also opportunity to applaud your efforts for the way you continue to work hard, the way you worked very hard, tirelessly. Last year, it was a difficult year during the time of the prolonged elections, but you still managed to perform. Very few of you are affected seriously where you are not able to really even give out any loans, but all said and done, you did quite well. But now, under the stewardship of the board, we managed to achieve the following the last year. We reviewed the policies, we overhauled them so that they are aligned with the change and best market practices. This was the first review in 5 years, and we are happy with what is going on. We did also review the products. We were lucky that one of our directors called Chebet Alaro took us through 2 successful workshops and assisted in revamping our product portfolio with new and more client-focused, market-oriented offerings and 360 degrees marketing strategy and program. And these are being implemented. And then, through your efforts, we've been able to turn around the time of processing our loans from a high of 135 days to a low of 38 days. And with this, it has tremendously improved the customer satisfaction, because we are able now to give the money back quickly, or what the money they need quickly for the work they need to use. And then you remember during the President's Jamhuri Day celebrations last year, he did come up with 4 big 4 agenda, and these are manufacturing, universal healthcare, affordable housing, and food security. And KI happened to have been mentioned in that report, where the president said that we are playing, or we shall be playing, central role in jobs creation through promotion of medium, small, and micro enterprises in a bid to drive the country's industrialization agenda as part of the Big Four agenda. The branches are therefore expected to work effortlessly towards this effort in order to assist the company and the government at large in achieving these agendas. So you have a central role. Actually, it was the only institution that was specifically mentioned by the president. Then another good news which has been given to the organization, which the board approved, was the reduction of interest rates. I'm sure you've had, or you've been told from the head office, that the interest rates have been reduced from 14% to 10%. This was effective from the 1st of March this year, and it's only for new loans. So I hope you will not confuse and give the old loans or convert the interest rates for the old loans to 10%. So those people who had contracts of 14% will continue paying the 14%, but if they come for a new loan, we give them a 10%. So that is a good thing for the country, for the company. With this, we're expecting that you will now get quality loans. You know, before we were giving the same rate as the commercial banks. So which means you didn't have an advantage over the commercial banks. You would therefore only get those people who have been rejected by the banks. These are the ones you get, and therefore they've gone through probably due diligence and found out to be good borrowers, but you don't have a choice, you have to give money. In the process, we have very many non-performing loans. Now, you will have an influx of demand on this, and therefore, you make sure you sieve through and get the very best people you are sure they will pay back whatever we give them. And then, the other thing is about rebranding. The head office, and I think maybe some of the branch managers, I don't know whether they were involved in the rebranding of the company. We have had the same logo and the write-ups, the taglines for the last almost 50 years, but it was felt that it is an old and tired brand. We need to change, reposition ourselves so that we have a modern and more effective brand, that when you see it, you see there is a change for one, and also there is something like fire in it to show that we are ready to move hard and forward together. So this has been done, and it was approved by the board, and it will be effected. The only thing is we are waiting to see what else needs to be cleared so that it can be effected. The other thing I wanted to mention, and we have mentioned it before to some of you, is that we are happy and proud to have been involved in bringing in the medical scheme to the staff, which you are enjoying. With the last visit we went to the field, the staff in the field are very happy. They are already enjoying the medical scheme, which was introduced last year, and it was the first of its kind in 50 years in the organization. We are very happy as a board to have been able to effect it, and I hope you're enjoying it. And then we gave you an end of year party last year. I think it's the second of its kind. You never used to have any end of year celebrations, and we felt it's good one time to sit down and relax and reflect on what has been happening together with your colleagues. So this will continue, and we hope you had a good time. We shared equally to all the branches the amount to be spent, and therefore there was no one branch that was preferred over the other. Then comes the salaries and grants. The salaries used to be paid late, but the head office has ensured that every month you get your salaries by 25th, and therefore you're able to meet your commitments in time. The other thing is administrative grants. This, you are never sure when this would arrive in your branches, but we've made sure that you get this by 1st of every month, so also to assist in the commitment of your operations in the field. Then we did convert those staff members who are working on contract for a long time. We confirmed this to permanent and pensionable status, and those also who came last year and were put on probation, we have also confirmed this. And we are hoping with this will give morale to our staff and feel more committed to the company. And just for you to know, as you're part of this, we are working towards becoming self-sustaining. And therefore there is very much need that you get the good borrowers to the company, because the money that you give out, we need that money back so that we can lend it out. As you know, we needed to have a revolving fund. That revolving fund could not be, idea could not be achieved if we don't get money back. In the olden days, money used to just be given out without really, or with even sometimes knowing very well that that money will not come back to us. So we would like for us to achieve that goal of being or having a revolving fund, to make sure that the money that we give out will come back, and ensure that we have very little default, if at all. And therefore, it is important for you, most of you who are in the branch offices, to work in harmony with the head office as a team, so that you cooperate as we are one. No one can exist without the other. Without the head office, without the branches, we shall not be what we expected to do. And therefore, we would like you to bring on board viable quality projects that are creditworthy, and with the borrowers who are creditworthy, to ensure that we give only to the very high need, the much needed and the good borrowers to give us our money back. It therefore means you will need to carry out due diligence of the borrowers, even in the projects that they are carrying. I mean, they would like to undertake. You need to visit them and make sure that you confirm to the risk department that you've done all that is required to make sure that you give us those projects that are, will manage to pay back what we give them. So you visit those places, interview them, get a background on them, and then you can tell us that this one we will pay. We have also said that the big amounts, we shall require the head office risk manager to visit and confirm. Amounts of 3 million and above, would like them to come and confirm. We have had a few cases of defaults and would like to try as much as possible to avoid this. And then we noted that there has been some laxity in collections from those people who we've given money. So make sure you are at that all the time so that we get the money that we need. And most importantly, we require that you become people, or you, those who are not, become people of integrity, that you do not compromise with the people out there, those borrowers out there. You make sure that you have high integrity and you cannot be compromised, because what that means is that your branch will go down and it will be easily noticed, and serious disciplinary action will be taken against those who are found to be compromising. So, as leaders, you lead by example. Please make sure that we can see what is happening in your good areas. Now, to conclude, is just to say that it is expected for KIA to reposition itself in the micro, small, and medium enterprises industry, and for all of us to work harder in order to achieve and push for more loans. Because we might be lucky going forward probably to get additional funding, and if you're not pushing for companies to come and get the money, it will therefore not be of any good. Would like to give out money, but always realizing it's not to get it out of your offices, it's to give it to those people who we are sure they will pay back. So there are others in the branches who have sheds that are not occupied. Would like you to help us have people take up those sheds. Try and interest the people around your areas so that at least they can come up and take up that, because that means we get additional income. And therefore also look for partners to come for money. And then there is this business advisory services. Would like to do a lot of consultation in the branches. So talk to the county governments to give us work, or any other groups within your branches, so that we are able to sell out these services. We have had some few, but would like more. But we must say that we also want those people you have good contact with, because we have had cases where we have given out the services, but the repayments have been difficult. But we are lucky, like the south coast and the southern part of Kenya, the Taveta, our manager here, Matilda, helped us get back money which had delayed there for a long time, 2 million shillings, and we were very happy about that. So that was her initiative, and we were very grateful. So with that, let me conclude by saying that as you endeavor to shine bright, the board shall also offer maximum support. We'll give you all the maximum support you need so that you can move forward. So I wish you a successful workshop, and that you will leave this place more focused and energized to scale up KIA to greater heights. So thank you very much, and all the best in your workshop.
To be able to welcome and introduce our guest speaker. I'm just seeing him also for the first time today. I've met him before. But our speaker is a graduate of demography and social statistics. So it's my pleasure now to welcome, and let's put our hands together for Dr. Wale Akiyemi.
So part of what we're going to achieve in the next 2 hours is, I want to challenge our thinking to think in a totally different way so we can get different results. But to kick off, we want to look at the leader. Who is the leader? A lot of books have been written about leadership. But I want us to make it very, very practical, non-academic. For the past 4 years or so, I've been privileged to teach transformational leadership at the School of Government, at KSG. So, let's look at who is the leader. Because you here are leaders. But the first thing I want to tell you about leadership is that it's not a title. All right? It's not a title. You can have the title of a leader, but you discover that in your organization, somebody else is calling the shots. Am I telling the truth? So it's one thing for you to have the title. It's another thing for you to have the power. Okay? And that's just the reality. I remember there was a cabinet secretary who, when he took over office, was very, very excited about transformation. So we got together and talked transformation, and, after a while, he told me, he said, Wale, you know what? I tried to push some things, but after a while, I discovered there were people there who said silently, their attitude was, you know what, you met me here, you met us here, and you will leave us here. So you can have the title, but not have the power. So where is power? How do we define power? Let me tell you a story. I used to live in the US, and I used to do a lot of business shuttling between London and the US. So on this particular day, I am traveling, I land in San Francisco. And when I get to the airport, everything is good. As I come out, I get to the immigration, and then this guy says to me very politely, he looks at my passport. I had 3 passports stapled together. So he looked at everything, then he said, please step aside. And I thought it was just a routine thing, so I stepped aside. Next thing, they came and took me to a room and interrogated me for 3 hours. And you know, the white man, even if he's going to kill you, he'll be polite about it. He said, please do this, sir. Please do this, sir. So I went. And they went through every page of my passport, looking at every stamp, looking at everything, and asking me, where did you stay here? How long ago? 3 hours. Then they said I could go. And when I was leaving, I now asked one of them, I said, what was that about? So he laughed. He said, let me explain it to you in a very simple way. You travel very often. You're a frequent flyer. You fly first class. You never check in your luggage. You only have hand luggage. You never spend more than 2 or 3 days in the same place. And above all, you hold a Nigerian passport. He said, that, my friend, is the profile of a drug dealer. How do you think I felt? I felt very bad. But then I said, I'll use it to my advantage. Because I discovered the guy did not know me before. So it was not personal. He was not making an emotional decision. It was not personal. He had a checklist. And when you have a checklist, then it doesn't have to be personal. When you have a checklist, you can bypass your emotions, you can bypass your subjectivity. No luggage to check in. The Nigerian area. The Nigerian. So, what we're going to do for the first 15 minutes or so, I want us to build a profile for leadership. Is that okay? Because once we build a checklist, that means it's no more personal. It's no more emotional. You're going to I want you to nominate people that you know, whether living or dead. I want you to nominate people that you think are great leaders. Okay? People that you think are great leaders. Now, let me tell you something about leadership. I don't want, of course, we're upholding integrity here, but one of the things I want you to do as we build this profile is that I don't want you to consider the morality of what the people we are going to nominate. I don't want you to consider their morality. You know why? Morality is subjective. If you have 4 or 5 wives, it's a badge of honor, isn't it? In some other parts of the world, if you have more than 1 wife, it is criminal. Am I communicating? So morality is subjective. When you look at a person like Yasser Arafat, the founder of the PLO, Palestinian Liberation, now, to his people, he's a freedom fighter, isn't it? Bush that removed the name of Nelson Mandela from the name of terrorist in the US because the African National Congress was considered a terrorist organization. So what I'm saying is this. I don't want us to look at the morality of what they have done because that can taint our assessment of the leadership qualities we are looking for. Am I clear? So I want you to nominate them from all over. Just nominate people that you think are great leaders, whether in business, in politics, in whatever area, living or dead. Mandela, Gandhi, Malcolm X, Mugabe. Yes, now keep them coming. Adolf Hitler. There we go. Now we are getting somewhere. Hitler. Charles Taylor. I've already put that. Charles Taylor. Gaddafi. Thank you. Winnie Mandela. Okay. Fidel Castro, somebody's Obama, Achebe. And then there's a very nice person I want to add to the list, Mother Teresa. Isn't it? Okay. All right. Now, if you have, yes, sir. Bruce Lee. Thank you. That's a good one. Now, my thinking is, if you have Gaddafi, you have Hitler there, then tell me, which individual do you think changed the protocols for travel in the last few years than anybody in the world? Thank you, sir. Osama bin Laden, because you do remember that many years ago, if you are traveling, you go to the airport, they said, do you have anything to declare? You said no. They said, have a nice trip. Now you got to take you know. So I thank God I wear these things, so there's nothing much to take. but back in the days, I used to wear a lot of suits with suspenders. I had so much, so I took off my jacket. They said, you got to take off the suspenders. I said, my trousers will fall off. And then she said, there's nothing new under the sun. So Bruce Lee, so Osama bin Laden. All right, now we're going to do something. You see all these names here now? I want you to look at them very carefully. And then tell me, what are the common attributes that you can see? Let me read them out for you again. Kenneth Matiba, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Malcolm X, Aliko Dangote, Martin Luther King, Thomas Sankara, Julius Nyerere, Michuki, Julius Malema, Matiangi, Robert Mugabe, Hitler, Charles Taylor, Gaddafi, Winnie Mandela, Fidel Castro, Obama, Jacob Zuma, Chinua Achebe, Mother Teresa, Bruce Lee, and Osama bin Laden. So the question I am asking you, when you look at this list, we're going to stick this up somewhere. When you look at this list, what is it that you can see in Hitler, you can see in Mandela, you can see in Martin Luther King, you can see in Gaddafi, in Osama bin Laden, and you can see in Mother Teresa? So what are the attributes? Okay, you can just tell it all. So give me, yes, sir. Okay. So they challenged the norm. What's another word for that? Control. What? Change, yeah, but what's another word for somebody who is seeing something different? A nonconformist, true. But they were visionaries, weren't they? So that means what we're saying is one of the attributes of leadership is what? Visionary. Visionary. What other attributes do they have? Yes, sir. They influenced thinking. So now, one question I always like to ask, were they leaders because they influenced, or did they influence because they were leaders? Was it the ability to influence that made them leaders? Thank you. Absolutely. So that means, because if you're a leader and you want to get your team to go in another direction, you have to be able to do what? Influence. So, influence. What else?
They were firm.
They were firm. They were resolute. They were determined, isn't it? Which of those three words should we use? Resolute. So, these guys, what else? They were committed. Thank you, Chairman. They were committed to this cause. Oh, I've already let another one out. A cause. They were committed. They had a cause. That was something that was driving them, isn't it? So they had a cause. Any other? They were passionate. They were people of passion. But you know, I think it was that passion was part of what helped them to influence. But I'm going to write that. They were passionate. Were they really? Were they all selfless? Let's discuss it. Do you think they were selfless? That means they were doing all they were doing for other people, not for themselves. Some of them. But I don't think that was a driving force, because some of them are, well, okay, you've talked about. I can talk authoritatively about some of them, you know. And it is only when they had destroyed so many other people's business that they now started charitable programs. You know, the Dangote we know today is different from the Dangote that Nigerians knew 20 years ago. Dangote had a stronghold on sugar. So if anybody was importing sugar, Dangote would just drop prices while your ship is still mid-sea. So by the time your sugar gets to Lagos, it's useless. Now when he had done that for a few years, then everybody just gave up on sugar and said, Dangote, just have sugar. And once he saw that it worked for sugar, then he did it for all sorts of other things. You understand what I'm saying? So it is easy when you've now destroyed everybody else to now say, I'm a philanthropist. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why that selfless thing doesn't gel with me. But I think they were great communicators, whether directly or indirectly, isn't it? Okay, good. So we put communication. So we're doing this is what we're doing, the checklist. So they were communicators. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, what I want to do is, I want us to think, oh, we've got yet to talk that up. Oh, the tape is coming. All right. What we want to do is we now want to look at some of these names again. Okay? We want to look at risk takers. Thank you. They were risk takers. Now, what we want to do, let's look at some of these names again. All of us. Let's look at them. Some of them, we may think, you know what? Yes, somebody nominated this guy, but I don't think this guy should be on the list of the greatest leaders around. In which case, we can strike them off. We will have an electoral process. But, if it is too heated, then what do? We will go to our checklist. Now, because we have built a checklist, we are able to go beyond our subjectivity. We are able to go beyond emotions and biases. Isn't that true? Good. So, some of them I think will have automatic, but let's go. So, Kenneth Matiba, do you think if you are convinced he should remain on the list of great leaders, lift up your hand. Okay? Lift it so we can see. Okay, I might say, Michelle, I think you might help me to count since, yeah. So all these are in favor of Kenneth Matiba remaining on the list of great leaders. Just keep your hand up, please.
38. 38.
38. Okay, if you believe that, well, he was good, but he should not be on the list of great leaders, lift up your hands. Okay? All right? Fantastic. No, be bold. Don't worry. Okay, good. I want you to tell me, why do you think he should not be on that list? Tell us. Maybe you might convince some other people.
Matiba was a great man, but he could not be able to influence everybody. He couldn't be able to bring everyone on board.
Okay. Gandhi? Or is there anybody opposed to Gandhi or Mandela being on the list? All right, let me look for some controversial ones. I've talked about Dangote. Let's look at Gaddafi. Should Gaddafi remain on that list? If you feel Gaddafi should remain on the list, let me see your hand up. Okay, put it down. If you feel Gaddafi should not be on the list, let me see your hands up. Wow, you are a unique leader. You're on your own. Tell us. Tell us why.
Yeah, Gaddafi was not was a dictator, so he was doing things at his own behest. He was influencing people at his behest, and you don't do things the way he wants. You shoot you, or he does things like that. So really, he did not influence anybody.
Wow. Okay. Does anybody have any other comments about that? So you all believe Gaddafi should be on that list? Okay, please tell me, sir. You are convinced Gaddafi should be on the list. Why?
I think Gaddafi actually influenced a lot of the thinking of people within his area. He had a great vision, and he followed his vision up to the end.
All right. Let me put another name that you did not talk about. Let's just talk about it. Donald Trump. Do you think he should be on that list? Anybody who thinks he should be on that list, lift up your hand. All right, I suspected. Now, and the reason I brought Donald Trump up, you think he should be on the list? All right, why do you think he should be on the list?
Because one, he was an underdog, and he was a great organizer. He understood how human emotions work. He also understood that he broke the norm. Everybody expected a certain direction, but using his skills and all, to him the end justified the means, and he accomplished it. Not everybody does that, and to a nation of US level, the superpower, and then become a president when all of a sudden you are just an underdog. You just declare on Twitter you will run for president and you win on the first run.
Now, the reason I brought up Trump is that I know most of you would not agree that Trump should be on that list. But one important thing about leadership is that everybody has his sphere of leadership. Okay? Now, the effectiveness of my leadership has nothing to do with what the person in the next room thinks about me. It has everything to do with what the people I am leading, the people within my sphere of leadership. So, let me tell you something about Trump. Trump wrote a book many years ago called The America We Deserve. 10, 15 years before he became president. The America We Deserve. And he talked about America's problem. And he said, America is a nation of consumers, and a nation that is putting a burden of social security on the government. I want you to follow me with his thinking. So he said, people are growing old, So they will need benefits from the government, isn't it? He said because technology is also increasing, people are living longer than before. So at any point in time, you will have more people alive needing benefits from the government. And he said, as at then, the total benefits the government was going to owe was over $30 trillion. He said, we can't pay it. He said, the government can't pay it. So, it needs to be addressed. Then he now said, one of the areas that are taking away some of this money, he said, immigration. He said, you have a lot of immigrants who are there, who are pulling on the resources that should go into benefits for people. Are you? Then he said, jobs. We need to bring the factories back to America. Now, you are not an American, you don't live there, so it doesn't matter what. All you are doing is you are looking at it from the position of an outsider and an immigrant, and he is not your leader. Am I telling the truth? Now, if you were American living in America with the background I have just given you, would you vote for Trump? Yes. Yes. Was he able to influence people? Yes. Was he resolute? Yes. Was he committed? Yes. Did he have a cause? Yes. Was he passionate? Yes. Was he a communicator? You may not like his communication style on Twitter, but you know what? He was reaching the people he needed to reach. And was he is he a risk taker? So you see, when we come to our tool, then all emotions we bypass. All subjectivity, I don't like him. You talk of a dictator, Gaddafi. Was that Gaddafi we talked about? Now, it's very simple. Was Gaddafi visionary? Absolutely. He had his green book. You know, Gaddafi was the chief proponent of United States of Africa. What a vision. The last person to have such a, will you consider Kwame Nkrumah visionary? But Gaddafi was the next person that had that vision and that drove it with the passion that Nkrumah drove it. Okay? So was he visionary? Yes. Was Gaddafi able to influence people? Absolutely. Why do you think they wanted him out? You know? Was he resolute? Absolutely. Was he committed? Did he have a cause? Was he passionate about what he was doing? And was he able to communicate it? Was he a risk taker? So that is why we put this here. So let me now, I said I was going to do that for 15 minutes. Let me now drive it home for you. Are you ready? Now you see all those attributes. You will now turn them on yourself. And you will grade yourself. On a scale of 1 to 10, how great a leader are you? Are you visionary? What's your vision for your branch? What's your vision for what you're doing? Are you able to influence the people to go on this ride with you? Are you resolute about it? And they know that there's no flip-flopping about it. Are you committed to it? Do you have a cause? What is driving you as an individual? Is it just the money or the ability to make a difference? What is driving you? Because if you don't have a great cause, money is a very low level. Are you passionate? Are you able to communicate this to your team? And are you a risk taker? Now, when you turn this inwards, then you begin to see yourself on your own. Then you grade it. Be honest with yourself. And you see how great a leader you are. All right? So, remember, once you have a checklist, you have a profile, you bypass emotions. Now, are we here? Okay. Next one. Now, just stop. I want you to look at this painting. This is a picture of an actual painting. If I asked you, if I brought that painting and it was outside here, and I asked you to buy it, How much will you pay for it? Make me an offer. 500 bob. Okay? 500 bob. How much will you pay for it? You look very disgusted with that painting. How much will you will pay 300 shillings for that painting. Isn't it? How much will you pay, sir? You will not buy it. Okay? And that's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, now this painting, in actual fact, was a painting it's by Picasso, Green Leaves and Bust, and it was sold for $106 million. So, guess what? That means if someone gave it to you, oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. If somebody gave it to you, you would have sold it for 500 shillings. $106 million. That painting, was it valuable? Is it valuable? Absolutely. To you, it may not be valuable. To the person who bought it, it was valuable. Now, okay, this is another Picasso painting. This one was sold for $104 million. Now, what am I saying here? What I'm saying here is, if we are going to be great leaders, one thing we saw about these guys, they were visionary. They had another thing we've not put there, they had self-belief. Isn't it? They believed in themselves that we can do this. Your journey of leadership will start at the place of self-belief. That is where your journey of leadership starts. It starts at the place of, I don't need anybody else. I can make the difference and I will influence my team. Nobody else needs to come and make a difference. I believe I am able to do it. That's where the journey of great leadership starts. Let me tell you a story. My grandfather was a cabinet secretary, minister in Nigeria many years ago. And he told me a story. He said when they were young, in their late 20s, their leader, very close friend of his, but was leader. And if you've studied Nigerian politics, you know the name Chief Obafemi Awolowo. This was my grandfather's, he was in their inner circle. And one day, Chief Awolowo told these young men, his friends, he said, let's imagine we are in government. What would we do? And it was a joke. And he said, okay, you be Minister for Health, you be Minister for Education, and they gave themselves portfolios. And it looked like a joke. When Nigeria got independence, the first parliament, all of them were in. And all of them formed government. Great leadership starts from the place of self-belief. Bruce Lee, thank you. The place of self-belief. The truth is, you are in a position where you are supposed to transform